Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for a new horror comedy stroke romance film called The Waiting. Now this is a film that has just finished its production. It's been completed. It still needs sound mixing, however I have been sent a copy to review early by the writer and director F.C. Rebuff. Now this film stars Nick Leahy, Bill Kelly, Tatiana Warden. We have others like Laura Altier, and it tells the story of Eric. The actor's called Nick Leahy. Eric, who is a guy basically, he's had his heart broken. He's out there trying to do online dating. None of it's working, and he gets a job at a local hotel. This hotel has a lot of history. He's very, very enthusiastic to take on this job. And he finds out that fairly soon that there's a particular room in this hotel, room 101, that is haunted. And it's quite well known in the community about this haunting. And this fascinates him. And essentially what you do is if you go in this room and if you stay there beyond 60 seconds, you will essentially be haunted by this spirit that's in this room, this tormented spirit that lost a love many years previously. So Eric tries very hard to help this spirit in his own way. However, time is running out as the hotel is losing money and its owner decides to put the hotel up for sale, which makes Eric and others who are affectionate towards this hotel panic in what they are going to do next to try and save this hotel. Right, so what are my thoughts on The Waiting? Well, I reviewed a film of F.C. Rebuff a couple of years ago on a channel called Beautiful Monster. Thought it was a really interesting horror film. Yes, it had flaws. Low budget film, as is this. One thing that stands out to me when I watch a film, regardless of its budget, is I want it to be inventive, I want it to be creative, I want it to try and give us something new to think about. And I don't want just a straight horror film or horror comedy as this film tries to be. And I think this film successfully does that for the most part. It's not going to please everyone that watches this film because it's like a supernatural soap opera, really. It's not what you would describe as a scary film at all. In fact, it's quite beautiful in places. There's quite a charming romance going on, and it's full of likable characters, really, which is again is unusual for a horror film, and a horror comedy. I really appreciated that this film tried to be original and do something different. Its lead character, Nick Leahy, I think does a wonderful job in carrying this film. It's got a real warmth about his character, a real likability factor, and he really wants to do the right things here. Or the right thing, A, by the hotel, and B, by this spirit, this tortured soul that is trapped in this hotel room. And he really that really comes across well in his performance, and a very, very likable character, and I really appreciated that. Because it's low budget, I mean, you get the sense that this is like a big hotel. I mean, it looks beautiful actually, the hotel, but you only ever see, and this is probably for budgetary reasons, you only ever see a very, very small number of staff and stroke guests. So you only ever really see Eric, a couple of cleaners, the manager of the hotel, and occasionally the owner who pops up to, make statements like, "I'm selling the hotel," that sort of thing. So you never get the scale of this hotel, or it's. They mention a few times in the film that it's got a level of fondness amongst the community. It's got a real history. You don't really get that sense apart from a couple of news stories in the film. And you only really get a couple of guests popping up now and again to say a couple of things here and there. So you don't get that scale of this real working hotel. You know what I mean? That people rushing about, and it feels completely empty. And some of that is explained in the story because it's supposedly losing money because the guests aren't coming because the ghost and the hauntings and all that kind of stuff. But it feels like it's a skeleton crew basically there, and that's probably for budgetary reasons. Now, horror comedies are a very difficult blend to get right, and horror comedy stroke romance is an even more difficult blend to get right. And all of them are done subtle. And I think they all equally work and equally don't work to some degree. I enjoyed the subtle humour that was running through this film. It never crosses that line. It feels real, the humour. It feels believable, the humour. The horror, there are a couple of moments early on in the film before you really meet this spirit, where there's a couple of tense scenes that I think could have been elaborated on a bit more throughout the film. It's too light on the horror, probably for some. And the romance side of it, that's for you to judge yourself when you watch it, because I don't want to spoil any part of it. I thought it was actually a really touching story, even if it does go a little bit Green Mile at the end. So I'm going to give this film a 7 out of 10, and the reason I'm giving it as a 7 out of 10 is I liked its approach to filmmaking. I like the fact that it was different, and I like the fact that it was brave in trying something new. Does everything work? Probably not. Like I say, the sound mixing has not been done completely in this film. That probably will add another element to the film when it's watched, because the version I watched didn't have that. But I've got to say, I quite enjoyed this film. I think if you're wanting to watch something a little bit different, you may well appreciate this film. But like I say, I'm not sure it's for everyone, because it's a little bit light on the horror, the comedy and the romance, and it's more along the lines of a supernatural soap opera, really. So that's my review for The Waiting. Quite a pleasant little film, this one, and it's definitely one worth checking out when it is released later down the line. And if and when I find out when the release date is, I will pop it down in the description box below. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you liked this review. I hope you found it useful, and of course I will be back with more content on Screen Stars very, very soon.